What's good, my Regal Kings and Queens? Welcome to Zed Regal Mindset. This is the place where the mindset, it always matters. Now, today's reasoning is about how to overcome massive obstacles, whether they're external or internal, you know? One of the most challenging things that I've faced and have to overcome is managing physical disability. I wasn't born with it. When I was 11, I was knocked over by a car when I was living in Brixton. As a result of that, I had multiple operations to fix the initial break. I was left with one leg 2 inches shorter than the other, which affected every area of my life, you know, mobility, moving, walking, standing, even sitting down, which affected my social life, my professional life, my education, like every area of life you can possibly think. This physical disability affected that. My challenge was normality. I'd see people walk into the shop, no pain, skipping and jumping. I couldn't do that. If I walked to the shop more than once a day, for example, that would affect the rest of my week, which could affect the rest of my month. You understand? So it was about finding the balance, which I call skid angle boom. It was about finding the balance to manage these challenging situations that I faced every day in every area. Sometimes the challenge that I would face would come from other people's expectations of me, you know, especially if they were toxic people that didn't really have no genuine love for me, you know. So the obstacle, the challenge would be trying to overcome narcissistic attacks, people trying to put me down or push me down when I'm trying to rise up, when I've already got physical challenges that I'm battling with daily, you know. People that would see the light in me and try and dim that light for their own selfish, narcissistic or whatever reasons. These were some of the challenges that I faced. But again, the hardest challenge I've had to face and go through is dealing with physical disability. Let me give you an example. So I'm unable to walk. Every step is causing pain. My Harley Street doctor has said to me that I'd be in a wheelchair before the age of 40, right? Because of the injuries that I'd sustained. You know, he said I'd never be able to run again. He said there was lots of things that I wouldn't be able to do. My resilient mind said, okay, well, he said I wouldn't be able to do these. Let me see if I can. I tried. I couldn't. So I'm like, okay, what can I do? How can I go around, work around these things, these challenging situations that I'm facing? Walking was an issue. So Monday to Friday is a normal week, right? Most people, they go to work or they go to college Monday to Friday and then they've got the weekend, okay? They might do whatever they're doing. For me, I had to manage my steps every day. Every week, I would get a massage just to keep me walking. If I didn't have the massage, I would be in excruciating pain at the end of the week. If I didn't have that massage, the following week and the days after that, every step would cause more pain, it would cause more discomfort, and it would get worse. So that if I managed to get a massage the following week, it would be 2-3 times worse pain and discomfort that I was in when I needed it, if that makes sense. And when I got the massage, it would take twice as long for me to get back to where I was before I missed the first massage. Does that make sense? So it had me always literally counting my steps. I lived by my diary, you know. I would have it in there. I've got to go gym, I've got to do shopping, I've got to do all these different things. And I'd worked out what I could do in the week and how it would affect me physically. And then I'd worked out what type of treatments and what areas of my body needed massaging in order to release the tension so that I was good to go for the next week. It was a constant challenge, which affected me mentally, emotionally, and definitely physically, you know? And I tried not to let it affect my soul and my spirit, because when those things are affected, it affects everything in how you move forward and how you think of yourself and how you talk to yourself when trying to move forward. So overcoming massive obstacles is about identifying what the obstacle is. Many of us have different obstacles that we're facing every day. You understand? Mine was physical disability, the physical stuff. So I identified what it is. Then it was like, what is my goal? What am I trying to achieve? Even though I've got this issue, what am I trying to achieve today, this week, this month, with this project, with this production that I'm doing? Because I used to do, and I do, so many different things. I've done music projects, radio projects, managing live events, television stuff, presenting, all different kinds of things where I need to be on my feet. I need to be social. So it's like, okay, what is the goal? Let's use performance as an example. I need to be on stage performing. I've got, a half an hour performance. I need it to be electric. But throughout the week, I've, done all the normal stuff. I've trained, I've exercised, I've been on my feet. Like I've sat down, even sitting down would be an issue. So I've sat down lots, all of these stuff are going on. Now, and I'm in pain, time to perform. So the goal is to perform. What are my limitations? Is another question I would ask myself. So the limitations are, when I get on stage, I can't run up and down. Remember, I can't run in the first place. So I can't really be doing too much movement, because at any point my back could go and I'd be in pain. And I don't want to be on stage trying to perform looking like I'm in pain. I'm there to perform. Nobody doesn't want to see anybody back give out on stage mid-performance. It's not the one. That can affect people's pride and ego and brand. I wasn't trying to have that. So I realized that the limitations was my ability to move. So my mindset was, what actions can I take to remedy this? So I learned to use my voice to create movement and evoke emotions and feeling and energy in people, rather than having to use my body and run up and down and show them energy in a physical way. I gave it through my voice, projection, so that they can feel the power and the essence of what I'm dealing with in the words, in my performance, I would make sure that I had my posture right, so that I would keep my body braced. I wouldn't have to move too much. I'd let my hands do the talking, but I had to make sure that I was always in check of where my body is and what's going on. And that takes time to understand my body and what it's doing in every given moment. And then it was like breaking down the steps to overcoming the situation of trying to perform. For me, it was a mixture of things. I had to strengthen my body, which meant I had to go to the gym and exercise, not just lifting weights and pushing weights. I had to do things like yoga, body balance, which is a mixture of yoga, Tai Chi and Pilates, which help to stabilize and strengthen the core, as well as stretch the muscles, as well as help me with mobility. Yoga saved my life. There was a time where I wasn't able to get a massage for at least a couple years. And in that time, without yoga, I would have been that boy in the corner, unable to move. But when I found out about yoga and I adopted yoga every day into my life, sometimes twice a day, it helped my muscles stretch. It helped my body to maintain a balance, So continuing that routine was a big part of overcoming these obstacles. Then, as well as the physical, I had to deal with the massage. Again, weekly massages kept my muscles as loose as possible before they would spring back into being tight again. It was something I couldn't avoid, but I had to deal with. And then the other side of overcoming these obstacles was my mindset. The things I thought about my situations, the talk that I would tell myself, the talk that I would express outwardly in conversation to people, to the world. I would make sure that it wasn't negative. I wouldn't talk anything toxic about myself. I took the word can't out of my vocabulary just so that it wouldn't affect how I thought, my mindset about myself. Rather than saying I can't, I would say I can, rather than saying I should, which is like, oh, you was wrong for doing something, you should have done this. I would change that to I could, which is saying, all right, it went like this, but you could have done it a different way. It leaves room to be open for change and doing things in a different way. This is part of overcoming massive obstacles in my life, which I know many of us go through and any of you can do and use to help yourself. Now, another key to overcoming major obstacles in your life is to take small steps. Sometimes you have to take small steps in order to reach the big dream. Do you understand? You have to be patient. You may want to get a mile down the road, but you're not just going to get there in one step. You have to take the first steps. And if it takes you an hour, a week, a year, be patient. You will get there. But do it. There's no rush. Everything is about the now. You understand? If we think about the past or the future, it takes away from the things you need to do now. And that has been a key mindset program for myself. Just focus on what you can do right now, Regal. And yourselves too. When you do that, you find that you get through one thing and you're able to move on to the next thing. And then repeating this pattern, before you know it, you're much further ahead than you was when you took the first step, which is another key to overcoming major obstacles in your life. Trust me. Sometimes you have to take what's in your mind out of your mind, so you're not constantly thinking about it and it's going around in circles in your mind, causing you mental issues, confusion. That's another key to overcoming major obstacles in your life. I mean, it's worked for me in every area of my life, because once you've learned to do something once, it's a transferable skill. You can use it in many areas, just like I have. If I hadn't adopted these ways of thinking and these mindsets, there is no way I would have achieved the things that I've achieved to date. Do you understand? This is why I say, if you want to know who I am and how I've got to where I am and where I'm going, you have to understand where I'm coming from. The past paves the way for our present and our future. How we think now is what presents our future self. How we act now is what delivers our future stuff. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's all a mindset, and discipline, it breeds success. If you're disciplined and stay true to the goals and what it is you're trying to achieve, no matter what it is, no matter how big or small, if you stay disciplined in actioning and taking the steps, in how you think, the intention, and everything you do with that intention to move towards your goal, you will achieve what you're trying to focus on. Do you understand? That is how you overcome major obstacles in your life, in the small ones as well. It's all transferable. Do you understand? And that's just the Regal mindset. You see me? The mindset always matters. Remember that. Regal love.